Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and today we are going to put this sawmill onto a trailer.
I'm ready to see it mobile. This is going to simplify things so much and be able to take it out to, say, my property and saw up a log or two.
All right, so the first thing we got to do is get the mill moved down by the pond, and then we'll get started. Woodland Mills usually provides great instructions in their boxes. I hope that's the case today because I couldn't really find any videos on exactly what we're doing. There are other videos that show how to build the entire mill and the trailer at the same time, but I didn't find any showing someone who already had a mill put together and then added a trailer to it. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, we've got two boxes here. The top box is the extension kit. The bottom box is the mill trailer. So just like the mill, you can buy it at 10 feet 6-inch milling capacity. If you just buy the standard trailer, you get 10 feet 6-inch length. But since I have an extension on the mill, I have an extension for the trailer. This is actually something else. I've got a couple of other things ordered from Woodland Mills that will be for other videos. Like we have two boxes of hardware. These are gussets that go under it for support. And I believe these hold the jacks. Oh, those are heavy. So I believe these bolt onto the side rails of the mill and give it the strength. Now I wondered why like the jack legs and everything had an angle to them. It's because the trailer angles. I thought this was probably an L, but it's got an angle to it. I'm worn out. Is it lunchtime?
You're fun.
There it comes in a crate again. I'm normally just focused only on functionality and not so much aesthetics, but I saw a video of one of their trailers and I love these Woodland Mills plates. Really make it look sharp on the side of the trailer. Obviously building a trailer, you're gonna have quite a bit of hardware. What I loved last time was that every bag has this little information sheet. It's got a QR code you can scan, bolt size, quantity, and then that corresponds to the instructions. So should really help with assembly. I know it did on the mill. Here we have our trailer lighting package. This is technically considered an off-road trailer, but they set you up with everything to register it as a homemade trailer in your state. Let's see, max load, 1,045 pounds per tire, 80 PSI, if it has a speed rating. Okay, it's got this string of numbers here that I'll probably have to look up and see what the speed rating is, but I think you can take this at highway speeds. I don't think there's any issue there. This, you put your hands in this right here on each side for popping wheelies when you're driving. I haven't seen exactly how it works yet, but these are supposed to be very quick and easy to remove the fenders. So you have them on there for transport only. And we've got a standard 2-inch receiver. The standard trailer comes with 4 jacks. If you've got the extension, you've got 6 jacks. They're just used to level the mill. This trailer does not have a solid single axle all the way across. It has 2 torsion axles that allow the wheels to flex independently if you're off-road. So I still don't know exactly how we're going to do this, but I know we got to get it off the mill stand. Dad's removed all the bolts that were holding these feet down, and we take all the nuts off, we'll be able to completely remove the leveling feet. So the instructions basically tell you to disassemble the whole mill, but building this thing looks like it's really awkward trying to hold all the pieces, and they have you use the shipping crate as kind of a work platform. And what we're going to try to do is just add all the pieces onto the mill with it put together. And we're hopeful that we could even do the two ends, then put the jacks on the ends, and then have the whole thing hold itself up and just remove the stand from the center. So the first step we're supposed to do is remove the bolts that hold the bunks onto the rails, and then bolt gussets on under each bunk. So we're going to start with that. Okay, we have end gussets and we have joining gussets. So under this first bunk, we're putting on our end gussets, and it just uses a little bit longer bolt than it was originally on the mill. These all use lock nuts, so I'm running them down, but I'm not tightening them. Next we have joining gussets. They look like the end gussets, except they have 4 bolt holes here, so they can join 2 sections of this outer rail. Okay, next, each end of the mill has a short side plate. This is a short side plate. In the center of the mill, you have long plates that cross the joints on your sawmill rail. Once we have this rail held up, it's got 3 bolts here. Looks like a 4th one here. I need to get the instructions and make sure we're putting all of these in right now. I came out here this morning with the intention to just follow the instructions exactly the way they're presented, but I think we're saving ourselves a lot of wrestling around with heavy parts by supporting it with the stand in the middle and then with these jacks. So I'm raising this up till it touches, and I'm putting 2 bolts in it right here just to hold it up while we work. We're putting the jacks under the seams in the side plates. The seams in these rails are supported by these plates, and the seams in these plates are supported by the jacks. I like that this is a hex shape. That means we should be able to put a socket on these and run the jacks from now on. I'm trying to avoid repetition here, so we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side and be right back. Now, we're going to repeat the exact same process multiple times. Joining gussets, and then the center section is long rails, everything left loose. We'll get all that put together and come back for the next step. I like doing things according to the manual, but we're not today because the mill was already built. I've kind of already talked about that. But one point where that's relevant is the way we did it, we had the jacks pushing up on these plates. And the instructions say to make sure that these plates are all the way down before you tighten anything up. So we've lifted the mill with some beams in the center, and now we can go through and tighten everything down before setting this back down and letting it have pressure on it. And this is an important piece of the puzzle because your guide wheels roll on this rail and they overhang. So if this is sticking up, your guide wheel is going to be setting on this, and that won't work. Now we're going to go through and tighten every bolt we've put in except for maybe the jack. The bolts that go into the jack, those may have another piece that attaches to those. So I'm not going to tighten those until I look at the instructions. The next step is to install all these cross beams that bolt onto this rail right here that we just installed. The rail comes down and then angles in. these fit those angles on each side. And because the manual still has the entire mill setting on the crate, they're working these braces in a certain order that makes it the most convenient. And that made it a little bit confusing to me to make sure I knew the right braces were going in the right place. So I went through all 3 steps that are about these braces and then laid all of them out to make sure they're in the right place. There is a brace everywhere the sawmill has a bunk. And then there are 2 braces that are different than the others. The one that has 2 holes in it, that is your front brace. It goes all the way at the end. There is also a brace that has little brackets on it. Those are for mounting the axle. So that axle mounting brace goes in the 3rd spot from the back. So if you lay out 1 brace at every bunk, you put the ones with the holes at the front, the one with the axle spots in the 3rd position, that leaves you 1 extra brace. And it goes in between the first 2, and that's an extra axle support. So now what I'm going to do with my process is lift the 4 rear jacks as high as they will go and then raise the front 2, and that should have that spot off the ground. Then I can remove those 2 jacks and install my brace in that spot. Okay, so we've got a 19mm socket here. Okay, so now we'll pop the jacks off. It's just extra weight we don't need while doing this. Everything we've been doing to this point is with a bolt that is 30mm in length, and the jack stands, or the jacks, actually use a 35mm bolt. So we'll switch these out. Now, as I say that about the bolt sizes we're using, that is 35mm only applies to the spots with the jacks. All the rest of these cross supports use the same 30mm. This is just going to be repetition again, going through putting all these braces in exactly the same way. So I'll be back when they're done. Now's the point where I really need to get the mill perfectly level, because the next step is installing the axles, and to install the axles, it involves leveling and potentially shimming, so I've got to have the mill level first. In my strategy to put all these beams on in order and lay them all out, I missed a part of the instructions where this goes on the outside of the axle beam and uses the slightly longer M35 bolts. So I've got to zip those off and put these on. When you orientate them where your angle's the right way, you want this bracket towards the rear of the trailer, which is how you know that you're putting it on the correct side. I honestly thought this was going to be a half-day job, and I have no idea where I got that concept from. But we've now been on the job for, well, we got out here a little after 8 this morning, and it's almost 8 at night. We stopped once for lunch. Dad helped me about half the day. Definitely, I don't remember seeing anywhere that told me this was not going to be a full day job. And probably, if you really had your stuff together, you might be able to do it in a half day, but not for me. All right, Now that we've got these on, we've got some thumb screws here. These actually hold the fender on for the quick release to remove the fender without any tools. And we've got these two torsion axles. And the way you tell left from right is you mount it where this arm is towards the back of the trailer. And we're going to use these M12 by 35 bolts. That's a 15 millimeter and an 18 millimeter wrench to put those on. Oh, this one's going to be a little bit awkward. The old jack stand, using the knee as a jack. Be a little bit easier with two people, or if you put something under it to hold it, but you know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. They include some flat plates they call axle shims that go in between here or over here, and you use those to level the axles if required. I'm hoping they're just already level. Little bit surprised about how the alignment works on this. I don't know what is normal or what I should have expected, but the bolts that bolt the axle on are oversized, and you just, take measurements front and back, the width between your tires, and if it's wider in the front, then you tweak this axle a little bit by loosening up the bolts here and just lining it up. Didn't really think that's how it would be, but who knows? I'm no tire technician or mechanic, so we're just going to do what we're told here. Now, every bolt on this, including these wheel lugs, say to use a torque wrench, and I've been using drivers all day. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to have half a day just going through and trying to make sure I torque these bolts properly. Hopefully I didn't over torque them, but if I've under torqued them, I will correct that. All right, guys, I was determined that I was going to finish this today, and I'm so close. All I've got to do is put the fenders on and the tongue, and then it would look done. But then I still have to do the wiring for the trailer, and I want to do a proper job of enclosing those wires or tying them off so they're not going to be a problem. So I wanted to get it all done in one day, but it just didn't work out. Plus, when it's done, I have a lot more to figure out with this. Besides leveling it and seeing how it runs, I've got to see if it'll fit in my building. Am I going to continue to put it the way it was, or do I need to put it long ways? I may put some stake pockets on it. So really, we were going to have a second video just working on this trailer setup. So I guess it's not too bad getting 90% done on day one. Anyway, I appreciate you guys taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.